how that went down. For the first time at the Rogue Invitational, we are heading off-site for the opening event. We are in Texas Hill Country outside of Austin for event number 1, the Texas Trail, presented by GoRuck. Thanks for being with us, everybody. I'm Sean Woodland with Adrian Conway. And Adrian, no better way to get things started with just a long, grueling run in the dirt.
And Texas Trail as an event is 4.2 miles traveled. They're gonna go 1.2 miles with the ruck, 30 pounds for the men, 20 for the ladies. 1 mile run without the ruck, 3 sandbag up and overs, 100 pounds for the fellas, 70 for the ladies. And then they're gonna finish with a 2-mile run.
Here's a look at the course that the athletes will be navigating. They will start at the bottom of a gorge, and right off the bat, they are faced with a pretty aggressive, pretty steep incline. That will level out for the remainder of this 1.2 mile run. At the first checkpoint, they will drop their rucks. Then it's mostly downhill, so this is where they can pick up some speed and possibly gain some ground on people they're chasing. They'll move to the sandbags. That is the second checkpoint. They will have 3 sandbags they need to move up and over a hay barrier, and then one final 2-mile run back to the finish line.
Yeah, and Sean, with this event description, and particularly looking at the terrain, we've got to keep in mind these athletes are doing this completely blind. They're not going to have the anticipation that you described, and they're going to need to make sure that they set the appropriate tempo for really what's unexpected.
The athletes are warming up before the start of this event. Adrian, what are your keys to success here in the Texas Trail?
The keys I've got for this particular workout are run short. It's important to shorten your stride or your cadence when you're under the load of weight. It's going to help save you energy down the road. And then, of course, finish the bag. You've got to get those things all the way over the hay bales, and ignoring that could make you struggle later.
We are underway. Men and women competing together once again. 30 pounds on their backs for the men, 20 pounds for the women. And as Adrian mentioned earlier, sort of a callback to the 2019 Rogue Invitational that was held in Columbus. We started that competition with a ruck run. There's Olivia Kerstetter in the white top and black pants. Tim Paulson in the yellow shirt, as the athletes are immediately faced with that aggressive incline, and now things starting to thin out a little bit at the front.
Yeah, and this is where you'll see there's a lot of friendliness going on the trail right now, but a lot of times you need to literally box out your area for the proper pacing that you desire. And when initially a race starts with a hill, it's really important for you to gain composure as fast as you can, create a rhythm with your breathing, and also your foot strike with the ground.
Here is Yona Koski, working his way up the hill. Out front early, that's Ricky Garrard alongside Roman Krennikov, Lazar Jukic, and Jason Hopper. Pat Vellner's there as well, and here comes Chandler Smith, followed by the 2-time fittest man on earth, Justin Medeiros.
Yeah, it looks like it's business as usual with a crew like this. You see the athletes that are leading, and these are a lot, for the most part, the ones that we would predict finishing towards the top. I did see Jorge Fernandez in that initial pack, and that might not be a pick that I initially made on who would do well in a ruck race. So we'll see how this plays out for him.
Gabby McGowan and Emma Lawson out front early for the women, as now the field starting to thin out as the athletes work their way through that 1.2 mile run with those ruck packs on their back. At that first checkpoint, they will ditch the rucks. Jason Hopper out front for the men, and Annie Thorstadter back in the pack there. Thorstadter, one of the favorites to win this entire competition. She finished second at the Rogue Invitational last year.
Yeah, and we're all excited to see what Annie can do back on the individual scene. We got to watch her have some pretty good success at the team level, and now I've got to assume that her body's feeling good. She's eager to prove that her fitness has certainly not taken a backseat.
Ricky Garrard on the right side of your screen, Roman Krennikov, Lazar Jukic, and Chandler Smith still in that lead pack, and now Justin Medeiros, and you can see a lot of these athletes starting to walk up these hills.
Yeah, and that's a part of it. You've got to certainly be able to pick and choose when you can make moves on the field and when it is appropriate. Unfortunately, like we mentioned earlier, they're running this race completely blind, not knowing the trail and what's to come.
Saw the view from Gabby McGowan. She just passed out a view on the right side of your screen. She's towards the front for the women. No surprise there, given the fact that she won the Capital event back in August at the CrossFit Games. There is Danielle Brandon Jason Hopper, though, is your leader for the men. You can see Justin Medeiros, who's trying to become the first man to repeat as champion at the Rogue Invitational. We've had this competition 3 times now and 3 different winners. Now Danny Spiegel is way in the back, and she is the last woman up that incline. Jason Hopper starting to open up a lead here.
Yeah, and it looks like he's really trying to seize the opportunity. Anytime it looks like we've seen him on a downhill of any sort, he's really trying to accelerate his pace. And of course, we know he's got a background in football, so he's used to running with a little weight on his back.
Ricky Garrard was in second place, and see Lazar Jukic working his way up the incline. There's a view from Gabby Magawa again, who's wearing a camera for us, and she is towards the front for the women as they are getting closer to that first checkpoint. And they will get to shed those rucks, and then it's the second portion of this event, the run to the sandbags.
And we're seeing a couple different techniques come into play where athletes are freely moving their arms as if there's no backpack on them at all, and some are actually grasping it tightly to their body. I'm assuming that if they keep their arms free and freely swing their arms, that's going to help them stay much more relaxed, as that's what we see Jason Hopper doing out in the front.
And Jason Hopper is way out in front, and he will be the first man to the checkpoint. He ditches the ruck, wasting no time, and now a mile between him and checkpoint number 2, the sandbags. Behind Hopper, there is Ricky Garrard, followed by Roman Krennikov and Justin Medeiros and Chandler Smith. Lazar Jukic behind them.
And John, this is where we're going to see 2 different psyches come into play, right? People are going to drop this ruck and say, okay, now let's let the dogs go. And they're going to feel like their legs have resurgence of energy. And there's some folks that are going to realize they ran too hard, too fast with that ruck, and their legs are going to feel like they've got no relief even after they dropped all that weight on the ground.
Back in the pack, some more athletes getting set to get to that first checkpoint. Jason Hopper, meanwhile, continues to build on his lead.
He might not be coined as the best runner in the field each and every year, but he had a unique strategy to really pull away when it was necessary.
And now more athletes are getting set to come into that first checkpoint and ditch the ruck. Here's Gabby Magawa. She will be the first woman to drop her ruck pack. Behind her is Emma Lawson, and here comes Danielle Brandon. So 3 women have now gotten rid of their rucks as Annie Thorsauter joins that crew.
And if you'll notice, even as we watch these athletes take this downhill, it's important to let your body fall forward when you can. Gain momentum when it's possible. And of course, have your mind and eyes ready to react quickly to those rocks that you don't know that's coming.
Danielle Brandon is now out front. She has passed Gabby Magawa.
She's not only making moves on the ladies, I mean, we see her making moves on the men right there.
Passing Sam Quant, Gabby Magawa now back in second place for the women.
I do think even being up against a terrain like this is where athletes with field sport backgrounds have a tremendous advantage. A lot of quick footwork, a lot of fast reactions are necessary to have success in a race like this.
Jason Hopper has now made it to checkpoint number 2. 3 100-pound sandbags that he has to move up and over that hay bale.
Yeah, and I think this is honestly where he's starting to reap the fruits of his hard work early in this race. He looks around and he sees absolutely no one. That doesn't just build confidence for now, but now he gets to run his own race to finish this thing.
Roman Krennikov, Justin Medeiros, Jeff Adler, and now Chandler Smith behind Hopper, and Hopper is done. And now just 2 miles between him and the finish, looking over his left shoulder.
And now we got these 3 coming in, Medeiros, Krennikov, and Adler. And you got to just think, they have to be wondering who is going to make their move and when. While it looks like there's a bit of an alliance almost formed between these 3, they are out to win it each by themselves.
Krennikov, Medeiros, and Adler will be the 3rd, 4th, and 5th men to the sandbags, as Ricky Garrard, who now is in second place behind Hopper, is on his 2nd of 3 bags, looking to separate himself from the 3 men immediately behind him.
One of the key aspects of this race was to finish the bag. One thing that we noticed back in 2019 when there were bags in the up and over fashion was that athletes would get it up there and then kind of nonchalantly just let it sit. They were then called back to finish the bag over the hay bale, and we see none of these athletes making that mistake this year.
Krennikov, Adler, and Medeiros are all done trying to chase down Ricky Garrard, who is in second place right now. And here comes Chandler Smith, still in that pack towards the front. Danielle Brandon continues to lead for the women. Here comes Sam Quant, Gabby McGowa. Now getting closer to checkpoint number 2 as more and more athletes are getting to work on those sandbags. Danielle Brandon on the left will be the first woman to those 3 70-pound bags. And here comes Gabby McGowa.
You know, and Sean, one thing that is important to notice when we watch athletes go through an event like this, particularly the long ones, is their body language. And what I see right there from Danielle Brandon as she goes down the hill and even gets, prepared to get these sandbags up and over, is that she looks very relaxed, poised, and confident.
Jason Hopper is very relaxed right now as there is nobody even close to him. Hopper has maintained this lead for the majority of the event, and he can put this thing in cruise control right now as he looks for his second career event win at the Rogue Invitational. Now, Danielle Brandon is done. She is up and over, and she will look to put some distance between herself and Gabby McGowa, but now McGowa cresting that hay bale, and she is right behind Brandon. Here comes Sam Quant and Bailey Rogers on the right in third place for the women.
Yeah, and while we see Hopper with this large lead on the rest of the men's field, these 3 ladies are in for a fight. We've still got 2 miles of running left. It is important for them to continue to have urgency and understand that if they are in second or third place, like, they've got a chance to make a move.
More men and women joining Jason Hopper on that final 2-mile run to the finish line.
Nice work, brother.
But they are well back of the leader.
Yeah, and we got to continue to reference the fact that this trail run is tremendously different than a road run or a run at the track. And I think we'll even see that in the standings when these athletes start to approach the finish line, is the fact that we might not be able to line them up directly and say this is who would win a 4-mile run for time on the road. So they are up a unique test here, even as we watch these athletes start to use their hands on their quads to save as much energy in those legs as they can.
And this is the pack immediately behind Jason Hopper. There is Jeffrey Adler, who finished on the podium here at the Rogue Invitational last year in third place. Justin Medeiros is behind him, and it's Roman Krennikov in the middle. And then behind them in the white shirt, there's Chandler Smith. And Bjorn Carl Gumundsson now starting to gain ground on that pack as well. Danielle Brandon continuing to lead for the women. Gabby McGowa remains in second place here on this final 2-mile run to the finish.
Yeah, it's even small things just like that instance right there where we watched Danielle Brandon continue to run through that incline, as we saw repeatedly male athletes stop to put their hands on their legs, and even Gabby McGowa there show us the same type of thing.
Bailey Rogers in her first ever Rogue Invitational right now in third place for the women, and that's exactly what you mentioned. You can see athletes leaned over, hands on their thighs, trying to work their way up the hill. There's Sam Quant in the white shirt. Behind him is Emma Lawson on the left side of your screen. And there is Annie Thorisdottir. Top 5 for the women on the left side of your screen. Danielle Brandon, followed by Gabby McGowa. Bailey Rogers still in the top 3. Matilda Garnes has moved into 4th, and it's Emma Lawson who is in 5th. The field really starting to spread out here on the back half of this final 2-mile run. Jason Hopper, the leader for the men, is in the bottom left-hand part of your screen, so you can see the cushion that he continues to build here. Ricky Garrard has a camera on. Let's check in with him as he and Jeff Adler are talking some strategy.
Yeah, about it. Roman, when I passed him, was on a 2 count.
2 mile?
We're at 5K almost. 2 left. Pace, 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're hearing this back and forth conversation between Ricky and Jeff, and Ricky's essentially saying, like, hey, how far do we have left? I'm not really sure. Adler's like, hey, at this pace, don't worry. 9 minutes left, we'll be there.
And Jeff Adler is looking like he might leave Ricky Garrard behind him here. So Adler moving into second place behind Jason Hopper. Garrard has slid into third, followed by Roman Krennikov and Justin Medeiros. So your top 3 men from the CrossFit Games, 4th, 5th, and 6th right now in this opening event. And there is Jason Hopper. You talk about the mental advantage of not being able to see anybody behind you, and then the mental disadvantage it puts your competitors at. They can't see you.
Yeah, he's officially broken the rope, right? And when you're following or trailing someone the entire workout, you're really trying to peel away at that rope and draw them in, and his job as the leader was to break that rope, essentially to try to break their will.
Here goes Jeff Adler, who cannot see Hopper right now. Ricky Garrard is right behind him, and you saw Danielle Brandon, who is still out front for the women. That's Gabby McGowa, who looking through her POV camera. She's right behind Bailey Rogers. Magawa currently in 3rd place right now in this event.
Are we on the precipice of a rogue video game? Because that's what it felt like with the hands and the following behind the competitor. I felt like we were controlling Gabby perhaps at that moment.
Gabby Magawa volunteered to wear this camera, and we want to thank her for doing that. Certainly enhancing our coverage here. Comes Bailey Rogers down that decline. As she has started to separate herself from Gabby Magawa. Top 3 for the women have remained mostly the same here towards the back part of this event. Jeff Adler trying to open up a lead, more of a lead on Ricky Garrard, as Jason Hopper is getting closer to the finish. This will be the final turn before a straightaway to the end of the event.
Yeah, and it's a great feeling, anyone that's had the opportunity to lead an event the way that Hopper has led this almost in entirety, when you come across the last turn and you know that the finish is almost there.
A good look at the terrain here in hill country outside of Austin, Texas. The opening event, first time we've gone off-site for the opening event at the Rogue Invitational. As Adler has put himself solidly into 2nd place. Here comes Ricky Garrard, who sits in 3rd, and he is well ahead of the men trying to chase him, as Adler now makes that final turn to the finish line.
Yeah, and if we notice, even look at the separation that he was able to put between him and Ricky in a short amount of time.
Danielle Brandon looking to close out her event. Here comes Ricky Garrard to the home stretch. Behind our leaders, more athletes getting to that final mile. Emma Lawson is one of them. An impressive performance so far for her in this event. Lawson making her first appearance at the Rogue Invitational, 17 years old, and was the female rookie of the year at the CrossFit Games. There is Annie Thorisdottir. Emma Lawson making the final turn towards the finish line. Now Bjorven Carl Gudmundsson, Annie Thorisdottir, and Sam Quant behind her.
Yeah, Bjorn Carl Gudmundsson making an aggressive move around that turn, certainly trying to use the momentum of the curve there. That type of speed makes me wonder, did he reserve a little too much too early though?
Jason Hopper continues to lead, no shock there. Jeff Adler has managed to cut into that just a bit here. But Adler may be running out of time to make a move, as there is the finish line. And here comes Jason Hopper. He is going to win the opening event of the 2022 Rogue Invitational, his 2nd career event win. 31 minutes, 27.06 seconds for Hopper. Jeff Adler is going to take 2nd, so Adler just didn't have enough time to reel in Hopper, but he will get 95 points for that effort. And now Ricky Garrard coming across in 3rd place. And it's going to be Danielle Brandon who will win for the women. 34 minutes, 11.03 seconds. Bailey Rogers is in. She will take 2nd. Great start for her. And here comes Gabby Magawa in 3rd. Final results, Jason Hopper gets the win for the men by 13 seconds over Jeffrey Adler, Garrard, Krenikoff, and Medeiros rounding out the top 5. And it's Danielle Brandon, 34 minutes, 11.03 seconds, the win for the women.
It just went really good. I was expecting to blow up at a certain point and it'd be like, oh my gosh, I hate life. And just never got to that point. So I just kind of kept riding it out.
I like trail running rather than just regular running. It was good. The worst, honestly, was somebody told me there was a quarter mile left, and there was definitely like 3/4 left. That was honestly the hardest part.
Well, one event is down here at the Rogue Invitational, and Adrian, you've been through these competitions where you have a long event to kick things off. What's going through these athletes' minds as they get set for the rest of the Rogue Invitational?
Well, I got to tell you, whether you finish this in 1st place or in last place, it's 1 of 10 scores. Your primary job is to forget this performance, get your body recovered, and get ready for the next few days of competition.